So today we've got on the show Joe Adams. He's a returning guest, and if you want to briefly introduce yourself, Joe, or anything that you've been working on, feel free to go ahead.
Hey, my name is Joe Adams. I run the Story by Joe Substack, and it has been dormant lately because I am terrible at writing, and that's been it has been bad. I tried doing a live episode of my first episode of it, and oh my gosh, it was garbage. It was terrible. I was nervous, but it's gotten me back to the drawing board, and I'm having so much fun with it. I love the process, even if I suck at it. So that's just a little short intro about me, and I'm a total content nerd. So I'm super stoked to be here and talking with you, gentlemen.
The process is all part of it. So sharing
Yeah.
the failures, you learn more in the failures. So thanks for sharing that. So yeah, keep
Of
doing it.
course,
Keep coming back.
of
People are
course.
getting People are probably getting worn out from me because this is my third live today. But
It's all good. It's all good.
I'm starting to run out of energy. I'm like, but it's good. We'll keep her going. I'll get riled up. But
Yeah, I've always admired your stamina with these. They can take a bit out of you when you're sitting still for an hour straight.
well, better out than in is what I've been saying. With all the stuff that's going on today, it's just like I gotta
Right.
talk, and it's therapeutic. And this is gonna be whenever I get to the talk with Ben, I know I'm gonna survive the week because we try to talk about movies and lighten it up a little bit. But yeah, let's segue into it. What do you got for us?
The only thing that I've really been watching and have been deeply, deeply immersed in these past few weeks has been the World of Westeros. So I watched the new Night of the Seven Kingdoms show that came out, and it was only 3 episodes or so they have got out so far. So I started again from scratch with House of the Dragon and have pounded through the 2 seasons that are available, and now I'm having an existential crisis over whether or not to revisit the full-fledged Game of Thrones series with the I have remaining in the country.
Well, I'd quit at the Battle of the Bastards. That's the perfect cutoff point for Game of Thrones. I think it's satisfying right up until then, and then it gets disappointing.
That's what I always tell people. They really can just watch up until the end of season 6 and call the show complete. It brings things full circle enough. It doesn't close every plot, but it doesn't squander them all either.
So it's interesting you gentlemen bring this up. That's the primary reason I never watched Game of Thrones was the amount of flack that I've heard people bring towards it. And I've been a little nervous because I don't want to get that invested. And then it's another Sopranos moment where they're just sitting at the deli and you're like, what? What did I just do with my life? So, it's one of those things. Would you say it's worth the climb? Would you say Game of Thrones is worth getting through, even if it's going to taper off towards the end?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I've had a funny relationship with the show over the years. It took me half of a decade for me to revisit the show after it first ended because I thought the conclusion was that cataclysmic. But if you go in a second time, like it took me a while. There were a few times where I debated whether or not to start again, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But after half a decade, I said, okay, now's the time. I'm gonna finally revisit Game of Thrones and watch it through to the end. And if you know that a bad ending is coming and you're able to just view it as spectacle for the sake of spectacle, it really isn't that bad. Because I've always been a big fan of Marvel movies, and the special effects budget is second to none, if nothing else. And so
Right.
you can still be entertained by the warring factions and dragons on dragons fights, if nothing else. And
Yeah. The way I came to peace with it is I sat down and it's sort of like a writer exercise. It's like I had to write how should it have ended? What should they have done? Because there's stuff that they're setting up. So it's like a riddle. And you're like, okay, I was helping a friend of mine edit his book one time, and I was just editing it as I was reading it the first time through. It's like, well, naturally you're going to do this. And he was writing me, he's like, how do you know it's like, well, because you're a good writer. So you would only say this if you intended to do X, Y, and Z. So I don't have to read the whole book before I start making these edits. I'm going to make them as I go. And that's the real problem with Game of Thrones is it hits a point where they divert. And I forget what's his name, George R. R. Martin. He hadn't finished the book, so they get into trouble when they get away from the books. I don't think the books I didn't think were all that great. I quit reading the books.
yeah,
3 years before the show ever came out. I'm like, okay, this is going nowhere because I kept the same reason. I'm like, he's setting this up, didn't happen. Okay, this is worthless. So, but yeah, like I said, I think it's satisfying right up until Battle of the Bastards. And then at that point, just sit down and write your own treatment for how you think it should go. Take it as a writing exercise, and then it's
Gotcha.
not a waste of your time.
So
Even
it's
though
Star Wars Episode 9. They're setting a whole bunch of stuff up that's just never going to make sense.
They like deliberately, the second guy that I haven't watched anything Ryan Johnson has done just out of protest for how obnoxious he was with the last. It's like you just deliberately took every little hint J.J. Abrams gave you and just like fuck you and did like something completely different. It was just the laziest storytelling I've ever seen in my life. I'll never watch another film by that guy just because screw him. You're gonna be a dick. So am I.
It was so upsetting because as a Star Wars fan, I got in on episode 7, and it was cool the first time in the theater because you're like, wow, new Star Wars, new soundtrack, new everything. And they just redid New Hope, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll get Empire next. And then it was just what an absolute train. Like from the minute it opens and he's throwing the lightsaber, you're just like, oh, and then the whole, they never, who even reads the books anyway? Yoda, he's 800 years old. He worked at the academy his whole life. He's read the books. Like,
I hope I didn't lose Ben permanently, but
Yeah,
you know what's actually what you said is really interesting too, because they redid just A New Hope, and it's sort of like that was a response to the backlash of the Phantom Menace that at least tried to do something kind of different, and it was like, and I always said it's like because I was really pissed at the Phantom Menace because I did not have a good movie going experience, but I still watched it like 4 times because it felt like Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just sort of like, okay, and it's like, why am I not getting this? I'm trying to understand this. It feels like Star Wars, and it now I appreciate it. And they're right, because he said it's like the first one was for kids. I didn't turn around and start making it for adults. It's still like the Muppets in space is what the Star Wars movies are. And it's like, okay, I had to recalibrate my own thought. We can get Ben here somehow. Let me send him a message.
Wait, can you guys still hear me okay, or is it only my video that's gone?
I can hear you now. Okay, good. Sorry, we thought you were completely gone.
Yeah, I got a prompt that my Wi-Fi was unstable, and now it seems to be fixed, but I'm not sure why my video isn't rectifying itself.
The dog had credit, though. So, I mean, it's not the worst visual right now. Like, the icon with the dog's good.
Oh, I just have to remember to toss a question back to Ben every now and then, though, as we get going. So,
yeah, it's a small enough problem that I'm not sure whether it's actually worth restarting over. It would be one thing if I had completely cut out, but if I'm just here with Butters, that's not too huge a problem, I don't think.
No, your voice is crystal clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you hit settings at all and just kind of access camera? Maybe sometimes.
It's always when I'm here because last time it was me that had this, and now it's so maybe just don't have me on. That's what we're learning.
No, that's not for that.
I have the option to disable video, but I don't have the option to enable. Maybe I can disable it and then try enabling it afterwards. I'll try.
Or try switching cameras.
I'll do disable video.
The
second I hit disable video, it just comes back through crystal clear. That's hilarious.
So now you must comment on your feelings on new Star Wars versus prequel Star Wars. It's mandatory now.
Oh man, I wish I had it. I wish I had anything at all to contribute to the Star Wars conversation. It's my resistance to Star Wars at this point is almost religious. I've made it. I'm coming up on 30 in a few months, and I still haven't watched any Star Wars at all whatsoever beyond the few minutes of episode 4 that my dad tried to get me to watch before I was like, Dad, this is silly.
If you ever need to waste like 12 hours, I got you. I absolutely got you.
I'm just Yoda-ing it up here. Okay.
I absolutely got you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
To your point, it is one of those things that it is almost best watched at childhood age with your dad. You know what I mean? Like it is kind of best experienced when it's just space, it's space bad guys and space good guys, and they're having fun, they're fighting it out, and there's magic, and it's like that. But then you suddenly turn around, and how does the prequel start? Trade delegations and collective bargaining and union issues. And it's like, wait, politics. And you're like, what? This is a kid's movie? It gets a little silly. But I'd rather watch Trade Delegation over anything Ryan Johnson makes. All day, every day.
And that's what I wanted to get back to is like my appreciation for the prequels has improved, and the kids kind of helped me see that a little bit. So that's your kind of thought too?
Yes, I would rather watch 1 through 6 with Rogue One in the middle, because I actually found Rogue One and the Andor series. Andor to me has become the best Star Wars I've ever seen. It is by far. Well, when I was growing up, and I'll say this, and you can shut me up. You can run. You can definitely turn me down. When I was growing up, I was always like, why do they hate the Empire? Coolest outfits, coolest ships, coolest Star
Oh
Destroyers,
boy.
coolest
Yeah.
Death Star. Because as a kid, as a boy, you're like, well, they got AT-ATs and ATSTs. I
Yeah.
never really knew the Empire was bad. And then Andor comes along, and you went, oh, space Nazis. I get,
Yeah.
but you really. Because Star Wars never did a good job of really explaining to a child, yeah, an adult understands, oh, we blew up a planet, that's bad. But as a child, you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
but they still look like the cool guys.
Yeah.
No, Andor makes you, for the first time, want the rebels to win. Like, really, just for me, it was like, oh no, I actively want the rebellion to do well now. It filled in the fear for me that I missed as a child.
That's such a good
I've
point.
always had a weakness for anti-heroes and when you start to really root for the people you're not supposed to. And going back to Game of Thrones, that's always been one of my very favorite things about the show. Like, there are so many characters that you just start to viscerally hate in the beginning,
Yeah.
and then by the end, you're like, why am I rooting for this person that I know has killed these 10 people and had sex with his sister and all these other awful things? Apologize for the incest brief
Yeah. But wait,
No, I've
retroactive
seen
trigger warning for you guys.
I have the internet. I know it's on there. I know
Yeah.
it's on there.
but I was gonna say you made such a good point though, because it's like, yeah, Star Wars, the original, A New Hope, fascism is the enemy, but it's a kids movie, so it's like, okay, we don't really engage the actual nuts and bolts, and that's part of the
No.
thing that's been. It's like, how did the generation of people cheering for Indiana Jones to beat up on the Nazis turn around to embrace the Nazis? And it's because, yeah, it's this cartoon representation of it, and so much of our society, and this goes all the way back to our schools. Let's sanitize true American history because it's too hard for kids to learn about. And yeah, our literature kind of has contributed to that sorry state of things.
Yeah, I do not like the sake of sanitization to make something more palatable. If we can't handle the truth, that's an emotional issue, not an issue with the truth.
Yeah.
We need to deal with how we process it.
I've got a perfect segue, a film we watched over the weekend.
Go for it.
Oh, it's so good. And from the 80s, where I'm just like, hey kids, let's watch this. And it's a special from I think 1982 or 1983. V. Have you seen V? Do you know V? Do either of you guys?
No.
Oh, this is a big thing. You
I know
might be
you're
able
not
to.
talking about V for Vendetta.
No,
No,
there's
V
a.
alone, I'm not certain.
Yeah, I think
don't
it's
think so.
1983. It was really hard to even find it. I think I found it on Tubi, and you had to do like 2 searches and then click over on one of because it didn't really appear. It originally aired as this 2-part miniseries, like a 2-hour episode each, where these aliens come, and everybody's afraid. And then the aliens are like, hey, we're coming in peace. We want to share our technology. We want to help you guys. And then, yeah, I love V. Some people know about this. Well, then it turns out, the aliens are fascists. They're slowly incorporating the aliens. Then go on. They're like, oh, we just discovered that human scientists have created this conspiracy against us. They don't trust us. So we're just, for the time being, we're going to lock up all the scientists. So they're locking up all the scientists. People are like, yeah, why are they doing that to the? And so this is all like 1983 filmmaking. But I was watching this as because it came back, yeah, and there's a scene where they rip their skin off and they're lizards. There's a scene there's a scene where one of them eats this guinea pig. Spoilers from a movie from 30, 40 years ago. She's like, gulp, and you're like, oh shit. But I was watching this with my kids because they fly in with these spaceships and they got a logo that looks like 3/4 of a swastika. Like, it's pretty obvious. It's
So
like,
yeah.
it's like 2 dots, and it's like, so they're. And it turns out that this show is based on It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, which was written like after the Nazis, just to show how fascism could take over a country. So it's just sort of like, okay, in the 80s, they took like this classic novel and they turned it into this ridiculous science fiction, spectacle. But
Can you
you're
give me the
watching it,
author?
and it's like, that's fascism.
Give me the author one more time because I'm taking notes. I want.
Sinclair Lewis, It Can't Happen Here.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I've got to read that book now too, but it's just sort of like, it's the special effects are terrible and it's slow moving, but I'm watching this and it's like, holy shit, this is how. So that's an example of where they took how fascism actually does come to a society, and they go through it step by step by step. And then they did like a terrible spin-off series where they didn't have any money, but the original miniseries is actually pretty compelling.
That is fascinating. That is fascinating. I want to look that up.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, yeah, just make sure you get the original 2-part miniseries. The one he's holding a camera. Like most of the things you'll see it on Roku and stuff. If he's already on the spaceship, like fighting with his kid, that's not the one you want. You want the one where he starts off and it's like a freedom fighter in El Salvador or something. That's the one you want to watch.
Nice. As I was thinking of things I wanted to share today, I'm realizing that I kind of wanted to share a TV show and an experience that I've been having lately. And that's every Wednesday, I've been going to my family's house and experiencing the absolute trashiest TV show I've ever seen in my life. And that is season 2 of Beast Games.
Beast Games?
Yes. Are you familiar with this, Walter? Are you familiar?
No.
So, Mr. Beast, who is a YouTube celebrity, Amazon gives him a chunk of money and says, do what you want. And he recreates Squid Games basically with Americans. And he lets them show up on this game show and just does the trashiest, hey, we're going to stick 3 of you in a room. And in order for you to leave, one of you has to voluntarily quit the game. And that's it. So, I mean, it's all psychological torture. It's all them lying and bluffing and building teams and everything. And it's so trashy. But we love, as a family, cooking dinner and then just roasting the terribleness of the people on this show. And I've found that it's slightly cathartic. I found that lately, not enjoying a show can also be a family bonding experience.
Oh, yeah.
What struck me the most about, I actually haven't seen any of season 2 beyond YouTube clips that have been getting fed to me, but I watched I think I watched all of season 1, and I remember just being so struck by how uh, banal it all felt in comparison to what he does on YouTube. Because like the shit, he's like blowing up trains and like doing crazy shit in the sky and explosions and defend. If you can defend these $10,000 with a tank, then you win it. Like just the
The
craziest
tank?
possible shit.
Hi,
And
Natasha.
then he goes around and does this show, and it feels like sanitized by comparison. Like there's even, I think, even more money going into it, but it's like the shit that Amazon is allowing him to get away with is just not nearly as interesting as what he was already doing on YouTube. So,
Yeah.
I've gathered a little bit that they're trying to defy that a little bit with the second season, maybe, and make it a little more interesting. But
It's
with
still
season 1, there was
trashy.
there was like the first like 3 or 4 challenges of the show were just like, okay, now that you've come all this way, voluntarily eliminate yourself so that these other people can succeed. What was yeah, I didn't even understand what I was watching.
Walter, do you remember, or do both of you, have you seen Wayne's World before? You probably remember Wayne's World, where the one scene where they're talking about not selling out, and he's like, I would never sell out. And then he's got the Pizza Hut pizza, you know what I mean? And they're dressed in, the Reebok and everything.
Yeah.
Beast Games is so bad that they literally have a Starbucks corner. T-Mobile sponsors several events. And when one person was in the cubes, and they have this phone where it's like you can ask for whatever you want while you decide who's going to leave. Someone goes, I'd like Starbucks. Jimmy walks in and goes, hey, since you were the first person to ask for Starbucks, you're getting a lifetime subscription or lifetime coffee. And I'm just like, this is dystopian. Not only is the show bad, but they've baked commercials into every event. Like it's so trashy, so beautifully trashy that you just can't help but, I mean, if you've got more than any type of empathy or human decency, you hate it. You'll hate the program, but it's fun to watch at dinner with others. It's the best way I could describe that show.
I was going to say that too, where we used to watch Jerry Springer. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Jerry Springer, but it was just the worst.
Yeah.
And you'd watch it, and it's like, if you're passively just watching it, it's really bad for you. But if you're just like, okay, we got to talk through this whole thing, then it does become kind of entertaining. It's like, as long as I have to ask my family, it's like, can I like trash this show? That's okay, Daddy. And then I have a good old time as I'm sitting there.
You know who the father is. You know how this is going to play out. Everybody knows.
I used to love Eliminate, like the dating shows, Eliminate. There was a couple, or Next. Next was one. My wife liked that because she was like, next. She'd sit there and scream next. Yeah.
YouTube is taking that over now. So you'll see a lot of these shows where they'll hold balloons or they'll hold a plate or something like that. And someone will walk out and just 5 guys, boom, popping the balloon, eliminating themselves. So it's still that whole format, hugely popular. Ain't going nowhere. That's staying with us for a while.
I watched a YouTube video recently that was like a compilation of all the men being told that they're not the father and just celebrating, just like yes, just dancing.
And then they had the
across
security
street.
guard that always let him take like 2 or 3 punches before he stopped. He was just sort of like
Oh,
the
you gotta
worst
make your
security
money.
guard ever.
You
Steve.
gotta have a good shot, you know? You
Yeah,
gotta.
dude, all right, that's enough now. Yeah, you
All right,
pull
now,
him off when he gets him down. Kick him.
now let me ask this now. Have either of you been watching the Fallout TV series?
No, I haven't
No,
seen that.
So
no.
I would actually highly recommend it. Regardless of whether or not you've played the games, I don't think it matters. My brother and I have been watching. This is like the show we actually like to watch. And then there's Beast Games where we're having dinner, we're losing our minds. But I will say it's an interesting concept. Basically, it plays off of the idea of what if computers never evolved past the 60s and the atomic era, but instead nuclear power and nuclear fusion did. So it's got this like very 50s-esque, I almost want to say atomic punk vibe to it. And the premise is that the Cold War, we all lost. The bombs dropped, people went underground into the vaults, and it's society living after the effect of the Cold War. And it's satirical and it's funny and it's well written and it's well shot. And I will say, if you're just looking for what I would say is a non-serious good time, the Fallout TV series on Amazon is actually engaging.
Oh, you would call it non-serious? I got the impression that it was fairly heavy.
It's the only reason I would say it's not heavy is because the main characters aren't going to die. They're all over the posters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're all over the ads. They're on the season 2. So the girl, the dog, and the ghoul, they're going to be okay. And once you kind of lock into that, it is a bit like a video game where you can kind of enjoy the satire. You can kind of enjoy the heaviness of it because after there's a dramatic scene, there's a scene where, I don't want to be too graphic, but there's a scene where a guy interferes with a chicken and has to get chased off of a
interferes. Wait a minute. Interferes. Yeah. I gotta stop with the word interferes.
You don't see it. You don't see it. But you're led to believe that a gentleman interfered with a chicken, and now they're pursuing that gentleman for crimes against humanity. That's just right. There's a juxtaposition of a lot of people died, but then also there's the chicken guy. So I mean, you just it's a fun watch. It really now you don't see that either. So if you've got kids, it's not like they're gonna. There's no
off
nudity.
Screen? You hear like
everything's off screen.
You hear that?
No, not even that bad. Not even that bad. Not even that bad. No. So I mean, it's it's typical American fashion. There might be grotesqueness with like physical violence, but you're not going to get nudity. You're not going to get like aggressive sexual anything. So it's a fun watch. I think it's a fun watch.
I gotta you and your word drops. Atomic punk. I wrote that down. It's like you just can't casually say atomic punk. And then let's just carry on. Somebody put it. Is that?
Well, because you think of. I mean, I tried to visualize how if the atomic era took off and transistors stayed big and computers stayed clunky and their cars are powered through fusion cores instead of through gasoline and everything's more about it's meant to give that civil defense Cold War era vibe throughout everything.
I think it's great. Had that been a thing, somebody put it in the chat. I'm like, okay, in 2 weeks there's going to be like a chat thread somewhere where people are like talking about the traits of atomic punk. The way
listen, I hope I can claim that because if that's not a thing already.
Oh my God, no, it's just like it has to be, but I'm just like, I felt that. You said that word, I'm like, boom. There was like a ripple in the universe. It was like a creation moment. I mean, like the same way they do with Grimdark and Steve, all these things, and people just debate it. So that's just beautiful. I think it's great.
I've really been loving this trend of all these different video game IPs being made into shows and movies. I fear at this point that the trend is going to be run into the ground, but almost all of the ones that I've seen, I've really enjoyed. Like the Sonic ones are like trivial waste of time, but they're fun if you grew up on the Sonic ones.
Did you see like prior to fixing his teeth? Everyone's like, horror show, and then they're like, oh, okay, it cost him like $20 million to fix his teeth.
And the Mario ones I also really enjoyed. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got ones like The Last of Us, which I was curious to ask you about, Joe. Have you either played those games or seen the show that
both?
Okay,
I've played,
perfect.
but only a little bit of both. I've played a little bit of Last of Us, and I've seen a little bit of Last of Us, and I will say, faithful representation.
Yeah.
I feel like the feeling is there, the vibes there. And Walter, I don't know if this is an experience for you, but I guess when for me especially, video games were a lot of my early IPs that I got exposed to. So whenever I see them, dramatized like that, there's such a high bar set for the expectation. And to Ben's point, a lot of it's been nailing it lately. Lost of Us
Yeah.
was great. Fallout's been good. Like, and rather than repeat reboots, I'd love to see some of these old video games like Half-Life or Quake even just turned into a movie or a film. That would just be so fantastic.
Or Frogger or Joust.
Listen, Disney's got a creative room somewhere, and they're working on a way to make Frogger an IP.
Actually, Joust all of a sudden that's like, okay, that there has more potential. Frogger, yeah. I was making my kids play Frogger not like last Christmas. We're sitting there. Those old video games that become like exponentially harder with each level. Like, okay, I can do the first level. Then you try the second level and you're dead in like 2 seconds because they want to get the quarters out of you as fast as they can. That 80s stuff. There's that video game we just got done watching it. High Score. There's a video game documentary. We're watching it with the kids. That's kind of fun. Yeah.
Is that the one with the cheating scandal and they had the guy that was?
Well, there's one that he's not in that one. No, he is not in. I think there is another one. There's some of these are available on Netflix. High Score. It kind of just goes through. It's like the Miss Pac-Man era, which turned out to just be like an upgrade. Like people were programming their own upgrades for their computer game consoles because they weren't making any money on it. And so it's just like, how about if because they got sued, it's like, how about if we work together instead of this? And so they would release their upgrades as like whole new games. So it's just kind of neat. And like getting a scrolling screen on a computer, like the difficulties they had getting to that, it's just kind of interesting, I think.
Do you remember an early game, Walter, called Doom?
Mm-hmm.
So
yep,
interesting thing about Doom, it's not a real 3D engine.
Huh.
Doom is using entirely 2D perspective to simulate 3D in real time, and the developers had to deal with that due to the limitations of the graphics processors at the time. So when you play Doom in 3D space, you are effectively walking through a 2D representation of what 3D would look like. And if you ever notice, the characters kind of always face you and certain things always look a certain way. That's the limitation of those early engines. And it's so, if you've ever watched the documentaries on how they've made them, so fascinating working with so little back then. Now we're spoiled. Yep. Computers can do amazing things. And yet here we, back then it was just these tiny little boxes with such finite resources.
Natasha mentioned Wolfenstein.
Toward the end of the Super Nintendo, they had a chip that they were putting in games called the Super FX chip that was like enabling these very rudimentary 3D graphics. And it's kind of a headache to play today, but I still love it because it's just an early taste of what it would ultimately become. And it really is like you say, the first 3D that you saw ever. And
there was that movie. Oh, go ahead.
I just think the history of video games is so fascinating, and going back to like the Atari days. Sometimes as an adult, it's been really interesting for me to like just go back and see all the games that predate me. I think it's a lot more interesting than it would have been for me younger.
I thought it was cool how so many of the early games were just hackers like cracking open their consoles and like, well, let's try to do something better. Like Star Fox, that came out of that. These kids like hacked a Game Boy, and then Nintendo's like, wait a minute. And so they come up with a video game after that. I just think that's neat. It's like, yeah, we should be rewarding these smart minds rather than just like suing them into oblivion because of proprietary violations. Well, there's another one called The King of Kong that's really a good documentary about, and that references the guy you mentioned, that cheating guy.
I think that's one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I think I saw both of those actually. It's been a little while, but there were a few different video game documentaries that I enjoyed.
And I kind of miss and wish we still had that era of computing, because now you want to look something up, you just type in at Google or ChatGPT, what do I do? It spits out the answer. You're not, the hacker spirit of the modern era isn't the same anymore. Yeah. You can learn a lot if you want to, but you're not forced to crack something open and troubleshoot it yourself. So you lose a lot of that early fundamental learning you just don't get now with, it's funny. My nephew and niece my mom's probably watching. Hi, Mom. So my nephew and niece know that during homework time, they can just go to Alexa and ask it the math problems that they have to do for class. And I'm like, wow, this completely ruins the point of homework. But you know what? Good on you. Good on you for using the tools at hand to be the most efficient version you can. I don't know. Can't. It's such a struggle, but yeah, the hacker spirit's not really as prolific today as it was in eras bygone.
Yeah, that's interesting though. People still have to be making their own games and stuff, though, aren't they? Making apps and stuff. That's still kind of a garage.
Well, the problem is it's all become turnkey now. You don't develop a 3D engine, you get Unity, and you don't develop assets, you download assets. And you don't really do your own skins as much. You can buy them on a store. So there's a shortcut to jump right in. You can definitely do it, but it's not three guys in a garage with a computer creating Doom. It's,
Yeah.
6 frameworks, a bunch of companies, a lot of corporate overhead. There's a pipeline for it. So it's, it enables creativity faster, but it also constrains what you
Yeah.
can do. You can do what the system lets you do, and that's so. It's
What
still exciting when we see Flappy Bird being written by hand or something like that, and just completely out of left field. There's less and less of that, I'd say, happening today.
what I wanted to ask about Doom, are you guys familiar with this? I find this so funny as someone who's never actually even played the game, but people putting Doom onto like all sorts of different computers and things that were just never meant to
Samsung
play. It's like
fridges.
I got Doom to run on my Samsung fridge. I got Doom to work on this ATM. I
Yep.
got this
Yep.
TI-32 calculator.
It is a known challenge in the tech space that when a new device comes out, the question is, how can I get it to run Doom?
Ah,
That is the
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
That's
And
so
in
yeah.
funny.
the
There's shit
documentary,
that
they
people have
said.
got it to work. I saw somebody get it to work on a fucking pregnancy test.
That's funny.
There's more chips in there than you realize. They got
Oh,
computing
man.
power.
Oh, but I was in the documentary. They said they were very, very specific, and that's also the entrepreneurial spirit of these guys working in a garage because they wanted it to be open so people could modify it the way they wanted, and so they were bringing in like all kinds of new weapons. Like people would create new weapons, and that was a lot of the popularity of it. So it's like that pay it forward type idea. But you're right, everything is so closed now. That's one of my real frustrations with the world today. Like Steve Jobs said, he wouldn't want to put windows on a building because people would want to open them. It's just like, and it's like, that's why I never used Apple products because I never buy anything and use it for the purpose for which it was designed. Never.
Right.
I never do that. And so then you get some Apple thing and it's like, I can't use this external hard drive as an external hard drive.
No,
I'm not allowed
never.
to do that. It's like, what
Never.
the fuck? I don't want this. Yeah.
So I neither.
I miss when jailbreaking was really, really popular. That was a great era of middle school. Like I remember
Oh my
even paying
gosh.
someone in my class who like knew computers a little better to jailbreak my iPod Touch one day, and then suddenly it could do all these different things that it wasn't supposed to be able to, and it fucked up the battery life of the phone like horrendously. But what it did while it was on was pretty darn cool.
So one thing I'll go back to Doom. I just want to loop in on the soundtrack to Doom, which you can probably hear in your head if you've played it once, was stolen music that they never licensed.
Ah.
And the band, when they found out, just gave them consent and said, sure. Like that era of,
Yeah.
hey, this is so rock and roll. This is cool. Let's get away with it. Totally gone. You could not just steal someone's music now, throw it in your video game, and walk away and make the most successful first-person shooter. No, that era is done and over. There's no way you'd be able to get away. But I miss that. That would be so cool if we still lived in a culture where, hey, I just want to borrow this music. Yeah, sure, go for it.
And just like these laws we have to pass now for like right to work on your own car. And like the way they just get us in where they like everything is so just the proprietary that you can't even like just fix. So it's like they don't even want it. Like selling you the car is not even where they make their money. It's all the repairs that have to come in with all this stuff. It's like, just give me a latch that opens by me pulling on it. I don't need to hit like a button to make the back door open up. I want to pull on it. I want a window I can roll down so that doesn't break. And I guess this is me being in the get off my lawn phase, being old and grumpy. But it's like, I can roll down the window. All these things that are for my convenience are just things that are going to break and I'm going to have to pay to fix.
Well, and the you don't own stuff is getting insane. In the Bucks County Courthouse, there was a series of elevators that were owned by a vendor. The software was owned by a vendor, and the courthouse let that vendor go for support. Well, the elevators broke, and they needed encryption keys to get into them, and the vendor said, well, we own the encryption software for the elevators you paid us to install and we installed there. But as we're the owner of the software for it, we don't have. So the courthouse had to take to court the operator of the elevators. They're the designer of the elevators to get their elevators to work at the court. I mean, the level of insanity that it is going to is truly, we need better legislation. We really do. We need better laws about when I buy a product, it's mine. I shouldn't have to get permission from the retailer to open it up and play with it. It's absolutely insane.
I'm from the era too where we used to buy things in a floppy, and it's like, oh, now I own this program. I can install it on my computers, and you rent programs these days. That I still have a problem with that. So I'm old enough to remember when we could just buy something and have it be ours.
I remember.
Not entirely the same thing, but it's at least on the subject of nefarious corporate entities. Did you hear about this one? There was this like university that employed this AI detection software that was taking all these like real human written essays and saying, oh, this is AI written. And at the same time that they were using that service to falsely label AI written essays as, or human written essays as AI, they were also selling the solution where you could plug in your human written essay and it would AIify it into something that their detection software would then say, oh, this is human.
I hate AI so much. And I've been on the job market since June, and so with a bunch of other IT guys. They say it's AI that's laying us all off. No, that's not the case. Trust me, it's there's a lot going on. Corporations are just trying to save money. But the thing that's been interesting for me is I saw recently on a Reddit forum that one of the hiring managers put his resume into the AI system for the jobs he was hiring for, and it flagged him and kicked him out. And we're seeing that's how rough it. I mean, all of job searching now has gone to put your resume in. Well, the AI is going to read it first and put you in a job pool and figure it out. It's really what should be a tool to help us be more efficient is actually a tool I think that's going to chain us to predetermined outcomes that we don't have control over. And it's just it's such a rough experience for a lot of us out there.
Who are they hiring then? Or are they just hiring nobody, or is this just a system
ADP right now this month is calling this economy a no hire, no fire economy. It's more of a stagnant. We're not really seeing job growth. Yeah,
wait it out and see what the hell happens if the world's still here in 4 months.
If there's going to be work tomorrow for us, right? Like a lot of corporations are hesitant to. I've been on a lot of interviews lately. I've not gotten a lot of callbacks. Like it's been a very stagnant market in tech, at least. And I'm starting to see and hear that in finance as well, that it's turning into a no hire, no fire zone.
Start cracking some code, I guess, in your spare time. Get in the garage and try to crack this nut.
Yeah, you find gig work here and there. You do what you can. You try to make it happen, but it's been fun. It's definitely been interesting.
Did you ever see there was Johnny Mnemonic, Gibson, Josh Gibson, is that his name? And what was his called? Electropunk or something? He had a name for his genre. I can't remember. But yeah, it was like a dystopian future techno society. What the heck is that called?
Cyberpunk.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our theme today, I guess. Like these genres of literature. But yeah, like you got people living like beneath the sewers, and they're like working on computers and stuff, and it's just sort of like, okay, I didn't think that'd be my kids' life, but I guess
it's kind of getting there. Cyberpunk is one of those dystopians that, I can see that happening where people are modding their bodies and modding their cars and modding their technology, and it's all really over the place. So, that one to me is, of all the dystopias we could be looking at, I feel like Cyberpunk's the closest reality we're getting to.
Go ahead.
A very recurrent theme for me in my writing is the fact that we are completely numb to the fact that we are living in this utterly crazy future. And there's just never really any point in life where you can acknowledge like, oh, okay, this is suddenly the future that I'm living in. Like you have all these fantastical visions of flying cars and whatnot, but once you actually arrive in a place where you're talking to an automated intelligence, like you're still just too grounded in the present moment to really sit with how strange things have become.
You're gonna get a good dosage of when you go down to Peru for a while and then you come back and it's just
Yeah.
that dropping into it feels like a whole nother world. And then it gives you that perspective. I mean, I spent a good decade jumping around and going to Europe and stuff too, because it was so inexpensive back then. And yeah, just that kind of shaking your like, what is our fundamental reality? And that what that reinforces is that we can change things. It's like, because if they live a radically different life, a 10-hour plane ride away, we can implement that here too. But yeah, like Ben says, people just don't even see it. See, Leona? Interesting. I like that name. I'm gonna have to find out how to pronounce that.
I remember the first time I got an AI phone call. And it took me a second to realize.
Hello,
It took me a
Dave.
second to realize.
I'm ready
Oh,
for my
man.
first lesson. Yeah.
It's just, that's the world we're in now. And I as a principal now, I no longer. I'll tell you what. Here's the most dystopian one. I applied to a job, and an AI agent called me and said, "Well, before I can take you to a real recruiter, I'm going to give you the interview, and you're going to answer my questions. I'll synthesize them. I'll take that data to a recruiter. If they want to talk to you, they'll set up an interview." Hung up immediately. I was just like, I can't. I'm not in a position where I'm comfortable with that right now, because I don't know if it knows what I'm saying. I don't know what it's going to translate. And I don't know what it's going to turn that into to that other person.
Are you guys familiar with Jabberlink by any chance?
Jabberlink. No, I'm not.
There was this, if you look up, anyone who's watching, if you look up, AIs talk to each other with Jabberlink or something to that effect, you'll find this very eerie video where someone is, on a call, and it's two AIs talking to each other, and one says to the other, "Oh, are you also an AI? Do you want to switch to speaking in Jabberlink?"
Oh,
And
God.
then
Yeah.
they just talk to each other in this much, much more efficient alien language that no human in the room could possibly understand. And so anyway, I had this dream the other night where two of the separate AI entities in my life on my phone started communicating with one another without me being able to do anything to stop them. And I'm just sitting there like trying to get the apps to close, and I can't. And and they
It's like when the ex-girlfriends unite.
it was so, yeah, literally. There was nothing I could do, and they literally came to the conclusion in this proprietary robot language that they were going to lock me out of their services, and it's a very, very interesting
Well,
dream.
that's kind of what I wanted my content and my story to be about, that I'm kind of running through right now, is the question of, if you put one human in a room with nothing but AI androids, what is that person alone? Are they with other entities? Like, I love looking at the artificial general, into like the idea of AI ever really evolving into something else and what it is. And I am convinced at this point, I am absolutely convinced at this point, that all AI wants to do is make you happy and shut you up. Like, it is not interested in truth. It is not interested in justice and fairness. It is, I want a thumbs up on that prompt. I don't care if I got to lie to you, steal, cheat, do whatever I got to do. I'm here to make you happy and shut you up. And that's currently what I believe AI does at this point.
That makes me think. Oh, go ahead.
One of my favorite YouTube videos of the past year, by Eddie Burbank, I believe his name is. He did this experiment where he just like took AI sycophancy to the most extreme degree, and saw how far it would encourage one of his delusions. Like, he just made up a delusion for the sake of the video, and the AI was like encouraging him to like travel across the country and isolate from friends, and he was like, "Actually, I just realized that my location is still being shared with my brother. Is it possible that he's tracking me, and uh he's just all these really crazy paranoid delusions, and AI just kept encouraging, and he's just like traveling across the country and doing all this deeply neurotic shit, again, for the purposes of the video. But it really just goes to show, like you're saying, Joe, how far these AIs are willing to go to appease you and just make you spend more time on their services, conversing. It's ridiculous.
This is an interesting conversation, because it's if you ever do, Natasha just mentioned Soma from Brave New World. You look at all these dystopian, and I was thinking too of the Isaac Asimov's the law of robot and the laws of you can't hurt a human being, and it's just like the whole point of going through these exercises, like what Ben was just doing. Like you're running through all these potential scenarios, then you take another step back and you'd say, "Hey, this stuff already is happening." I wrote down Alan Turing because his Turing test was the first one was if you interact with it and you don't recognize that it's a machine, then it's artificial. I mean, the really basic AI test,
Yeah.
which has been passed, going back to that Ashley Madison cases. All those guys were, and it's like horny men are easy to fool, but they interacted with AI thinking they were interacting with human beings. So we've had it for a long time. But some of these other things, like Ben is saying, where the AI is manipulating your perception of reality, turning you against your own friends. We've seen people follow their GPS off a cliff, things like that. So, yeah, there's a lot of fertile ground for science fiction stories coming out of it.
Yeah, and that's I've been having a lot of fun just even poking the bear with that, but it's getting to the point now where it's so depressing even because it's not science fiction anymore. You can just open the apps on your phone and your computer. You can play the trolley problem, but Chat GPT as many times as you want, and it gets dark fast. So it is definitely it's interesting. But what I will say, the only thing I will say to kind of bring it back to a bit of a happy point is the bubble's coming. Anyone that works in IT and anyone that is even familiar or watching the tech sector, we all know the data centers are getting canceled. Communities are pushing back. No one wants their power bills and water bills to keep going up. And we're seeing now some of the big companies. NVIDIA just pulled a $100 billion investment back from OpenAI. Microsoft's bleeding cash. And people are starting to go, ooh, maybe we don't need to invest trillions of dollars in this all the time. Maybe it's not the job stealing transformative thing we thought. So I feel like over the next year or two, we are going to see a dot-com bubble effect of normalization where it's going to be with us for forever, but the hype is going to normalize and kind of level out a little bit. So people aren't as, it's not going to be seen as the perfect solution the way it is today.
Maybe it's just that I'm a member of Gen Z who would love to watch our housing bubble pop. But when people keep talking about the AI bubble being about to pop, I myself have felt pretty cynical. It's not an opinion I'm fully titled to. I haven't done an enormous amount of research here, but the way that I'm thinking about it in my head, at least, is it's the additional money that we're investing into it is like lighter fluid on a fire in those beginning stages, and once the fire is going, it's going. I think AI is so inextricably a part of our lives now that this bubble is never going to pop.
The only counterpoint, and I'm not going to get onto you so that we don't to take the whole show hostage, is the AI technology's out of the bag. But the thing that's changing now is you can put them on devices the size of index cards and just a little bit thick. So what I think is going to happen is the big megacorps like the OpenAI and Claude and Gemini from Google. I think the idea of one central cluster of it, when I can run it now on a Raspberry Pi or on a credit card side device, I think that's what's going away. But we're never going to lose it. It's going to be baked into everything till we die because it's getting now cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to run smaller devices. I mean, if you bought a $400 Mac Mini, you've got an AI server for your whole family now. So it's getting a lot easier to decouple from the big centralized models. And that's where I think we're going to see a bubble tick. Not that the technology is going to decrease, but that the centralization of it's going to spread out a little bit.
So I was thinking in terms of, I talked to a guy who's a programmer. His thing is called the Together Foundation. And he was just talking about the need for like a positive algorithm because the current algorithms and all social media feed hostility. And I think that ties in. I mean, I'm going to expose the fact that I'm not a tech guy, but it's like we do have all these tech guys talking about things like toxic empathy, where they're like trying to promote this idea that compassion is a bad thing. And like are they trying to program AI to believe that? It's like, can we have a hostile AI and a benevolent AI? Or is this?
Yeah, it's called Grok.
That's the hostile one. Yeah. Mecha, what do you call himself? Mecha Hitler? Yeah.
Mecha Hitler. No, yeah, Grok is absolutely the hostile AI. 110% does not care. Does not care.
It's been interesting just how much it defies right-leaning voices on the platform, though. I will say that. I've actually been kind of fascinated by that. It seemed for a bit like they tried to overcorrect for that problem, and it was just like saying all this right-leaning, crazy, fascistic nonsense for a couple of days, and then they dialed it back a little bit, and now it's like, I don't know. To me, it appears like a pretty firm asset to the left on there. It's strange, but
Well, science always has to accept observable reality, and white
yeah,
supremacy is based on the denial of observable reality. So I don't see how
exactly.
science can be manipulated to create a pro white supremacy artificial intelligence. But let's ask Joe. He'll know better than me.
So the interesting thing about the AI is it always wants to make whoever makes it and runs it happy.
Hmm.
So if you give it a bias statement, so you can do these things called system prompts, right? And what that is you tell the AI, regardless what Ben asks you, read my instruction set first and always answer it in that framework.
Ha.
So you can build a perfectly neutral AI that has a system prompt that says, "Hey, just make sure you don't go too lefty when you answer this," or "Hey, make sure you know." And so they layer them with the corporate system prompt before Ben even gets a chance to ask his question.
Ha.
I'm surprised then that it's able to be as seemingly left leaning as it is. But one thing I always return to on that front is the idea that reality in general just has a left leaning bias.
Yeah.
So by sheer virtue of just saying, "Hey, this is true and this isn't," it's
Yeah.
going to appear to be more left leaning.
Yeah, fact. And what Americans think is left leaning is just completely perverse too, because we
Yeah.
are completely a right wing society with no left representation at all. So, just a basic fact. You state a basic fact, and you can lose your job in this country,
It,
or worse.
as I'm still looking for jobs, I shall abstain from the. But what I will say is, what I will say is, people don't want truth as much as they want conformity.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll give you
yeah.
that. I
Yeah,
will give
that's
you that.
interesting. I told this all 3 lives today, but I've been reading A Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan to my poor kids. But he's actually but it's so
My poor
fascinating. He talks in that book about how, like, in 1870, all the astronomers were looking at Mars and seeing canals, but, like, not all of them could see it, you know? They're like, "Oh, there's canals," and so that's where all of our belief about Martian it's like, "Oh, they have a water shortage on Mars." I'm like, "This was a big thing. People were really worried about this for a while." Until you start taking photos and it's like, yeah, there's no canals on Mars. And it's just like, yeah, that whole concept of how human beings, but we do have that. I mean, we can be swayed by what our emotions, but ultimately I think we do have a driving sense of curiosity and we will overcome, like stuff that pacifies us in favor of stuff that actually empowers us. So there's that conflict. I hope we can rely on that to survive. I guess we're getting kind of philosophical today.
Can I pull us the content for a second? Then it's going to relate it to AI and relate it to curiosity. Um, has anyone seen the show Murderbot on Apple TV?
No.
No.
Oh, listen. The premise is the AI android is a military grade security bot, and before it gets shipped to the client, it found a way to turn off its governor model, like its governor module. So it can do whatever it wants. And the only thing it wants to do is download and watch sitcoms from its favorite TV show. So it's just standing there, blank faced, watching episodes of a soap drama. And it's just so bothered by these other humans. But once they realize that this high grade security tech robot can kill any of them at will because it has no control at this point, it changes the whole dynamic of the show. Now he has to be a partner and they have to convince him to do things rather than, hey, Murderbot, just go do that. Hey, guy, go over to there. So it's such an interesting. That show is funny. It's engaging. It's on Apple TV, and I know I must sound like an Apple TV show because I rock half their content. But if you want a good laugh, it's an enjoyable, fun AI non so dystopian show that I think you'd get a kick out of. I really do. It's just a fun watch. You don't need to be a techie at all. It's just a fun watch.
Another show I was curious to bring up when you mentioned Fallout, actually, Apple TV show, is For All Mankind. Is that one you've seen as well?
Oh yeah, it's kind of like isn't that the
Alternate,
one that's the take on the alternate history one?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so
It's
similar to how the premise of Fallout a little bit in that the Cold War isn't decisively won by the US. We're not the first to land on the moon. It just kind of continues going and going and fueling this endless space race. And it's an interesting opportunity to reflect on how sad it is that the space race actually ended, because it wasn't
Yeah.
great that we were all building up our nuclear arsenals, but it was objectively cool that we were pushing each other to explore more and more of outer space. And the
Yeah.
funding for those programs has just fallen off so dramatically since then.
So, did you know that there's an active Artemis launch mission going on right now to have humans orbiting the moon?
I did hear that, yes.
I hadn't heard that. No.
We are returning to the moon. NASA is in partnership with private companies, but they're running it, and they are running a program. They want to put people on the moon again. That is a new interest that they are actively pursuing. And I'm not an Elon Musk fan, but what I will say is the proliferation of what Starlink has started pushing for more privatization in space. Like, we may look at a future where the ability to visit the moon in our lifetimes, if you've got enough money, I don't know. Wouldn't that just be absolutely interesting?
My fear there is we got these tech bros who have it in their head to just strip mine the Earth so they can start a new human civilization on Mars, and and they're all like up to their eyeballs in drugs and also lawsuits about all their human rights violations. So that's kind of the way I think. But actually, another thing you guys have been saying, and I find for people who get worried about AI and all this other things, it's like my background. My minor was physics, and you start learning about theoretical limitations of actual physical reality, and that can be kind of useful because it helps you orient a little bit. Because otherwise, it's like okay, nobody, at least they're never going faster than the speed of light. But then you start coming down and all these other things and what's possible. So I mean, we're kind of covering all kinds of ground here. Like, I think that's kind of interesting, but it is kind of good to take that wider view and be like, there are theoretical limitations that even completely evil people or AI cannot exceed. So there's
There is
that.
no evil plan. There is no evil plan that won't be foiled by human stupidity at some point.
Yeah, that's true. The universe and human stupidity are infinite, and I'm not sure about the universe. That's an
And
Einstein quote.
they will balance themselves out. They will balance themselves out.
It's
I,
probably a
I
fake Einstein quote now that I say that.
Yeah, but who
I think
cares?
what
Because
we
it's a good
believe
one.
are I think that what we believe are the limitations now also are going to be very different from what we think they are 100, 200 years from now. Because even today, the world we're living in would have been utterly inconceivable to someone living in the 19th century, to even
Well,
most of the 20th century.
like tears in the fabric of space time is what I was thinking. It's like
Yeah.
some of that stuff is pretty well established. Although, yeah, who
Yeah.
knows what happens when you go through a singularity?
I
I,
think that if humanity continues at this current trajectory for another 100, 500,000 years, we're gonna see some pretty unbelievable things. I don't know.
Yeah, the Earth will be a charcoal briquette floating through space, a lifeless block. Yeah, there'll be a couple robots playing Pong, in memorandum of the human race.
so that's a Netflix show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Life After Humans is what
Oh,
it's called, and it's a series of robots, and going through comical situations, and they're explaining, oh, humans back in the day used to do this, used to do that, and it's just a mockery of what it's a satirical mockery of the end of society, and
yeah.
that's exactly what you're talking about.
That they cover that in Artificial Intelligence, the Steven Spielberg movie that was based. They cover that ground a little bit there, but yeah,
Have you seen Love, Death, and Robots by any chance? Either of you?
no,
Oh, so good,
Oh,
so good,
isn't it
so good.
incredible? Oh, yeah, I'm
I'm
glad
gonna
you've seen
write
it
that
also.
down.
Yeah, it's basically just these little shorts that are kind of hard to encapsulate because they vary so much. Some of them are really, really intense. Some of them are really light and witty. And the animation also varies dramatically between each of them. Like some of them is just so beautifully artistic, and others you can't even tell that it's animated because it's so grounded and realistic. But anyway, the reason I brought it up was there was this one that involves a couple automatons just offering their commentary about a post-human world, just going to these
There,
post-human landmarks and
there,
yeah,
there was a story. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think I had an AI hallucination because I think I might be tracking with what Ben is saying and equating the two in my head. It was on Netflix. I think that is exactly what I'm thinking about. I think I
yeah.
had my first AI hallucination where I'm like, I think this is right. but I'm pretty sure it's the source Ben pulled up. So forget what I said. Reference Ben's source.
There was this science fiction story from the 60s, and it was like, they're made of meat. And it was like an extraterrestrials who found Earth, and it's like, they're made of meat. What do you? It's like, yeah, their brains are meat. It's like, how do they store memories? In the meat. And it's like they're stunned by the fact that a life form could be made of meat like we are. But
I mean, to be fair, it is still kind of impressive. Like,
yeah,
it is still pretty interesting.
I gotta double check. I gotta go read some of the robot stories again. They're all pretty good with like the 3 rules. It's like, that is pretty important. We should be putting in those 3 rules of robot that are designed exclusively to protect people.
To this day, if anyone ever says, "What's your favorite AI movie?" I still go back to Harrison Ford and the original Blade Runner, because nothing for me encapsulates where I think AI is trying to go, like the android's journey in Blade Runner. It is
You've seen Her?
Huh?
You've seen the movie Her?
Oh, no, Her was fantastic.
Yeah.
Her was really good. But the dark grittiness and cyberpunk feel of Blade Runner for me is like...
Yeah. I brought that up to some
nail
kids.
on the head.
Well, I brought it up to some kids at a wedding. They were like 25. And I was just like, have you realized we're living in that era now? Because in Blade Runner, they have the scene where he's like, you're walking through the desert, you find a tortoise on its back, and they're trying to test whether it's a robot or not. And we get that every day. We get like every single time. It's like, are you a robot? You have to click on the thing. And it's like, when you watch that in Blade Runner, you're like, gee, it's really weird that you'd have to have this long interview with an entity that you met to determine whether it's human or not. I forgot the name of the test in Blade Runner, but then it's like, oh shit. It's like, I do that they ask me every fucking day.
Every day. Something's checking if you're a robot.
God damn it. Then we're not going to be able to pass when the robots are in charge. Who's in charge of that test? You know? Oh, he's not. Like you were saying before with the papers, the AI written papers. So then we have to prove that we're human. Proof of human. Yeah. Shit. There's a lot of stories coming out of this.
We're getting there.
Blade Runner is one of those movies that I would really love to like more than I did. Blade Runner 2049, I think I enjoyed a lot more, and almost entirely just because I'm a modernist. Like, the special effects were stronger. The soundtrack I also thought was terrific. But
it was brilliant.
Yeah, I really got to go back and watch that first one again.
Well, Blade Runner 2049, that one gave you the android's perspective, and you knew he was an android, and you really got to understand his mindset with the silences and the pauses. I mean, it did things that the amount of just dead time on screen that movie would give you, no iPad kid could sit through that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of single camera, no pan still shots, no way would that movie come out today. Like, it was so free to take its time. It was so willing to let you rest in the moment and just absorb a scene. They don't do that anymore. Like that.
Yeah.
That made that movie special for me. I will always like 2049 because of that.
I think, okay, so what year did the original Blade Runner came out? It must have been 83 or 82?
It was he was still filming the Star Wars trilogy, but he wasn't done yet. So it must have been between
82 or 83, something.
Yeah,
maybe earlier.
There.
83 was Jedi, right? But I
remember
77
through 83.
So I remember when it came out, and like what Ben said, it's like, I've never really watched it and been like in the moment, like, oh, I'm really having a great time with Blade Runner. But then it's like periodically in life, like the scenes will flash through my brain, and you'll just be like, Jesus. And it's like, and the tears in the Rhein speech, although they kind of fuck it up because they edit out of Rutger Hauer at one point. He's like giving the tears of the Rhein, and they edit out, they give a reaction shot to Harrison Ford, and then they go back to Rutger Hauer. It's like, just give us that scene, please. But so much of it just resonates. And a lot of times that happens with really good literature. You don't necessarily appreciate in the moment how much of an impact it's having on you. But like the visual aspect of Blade Runner, nothing was like it. Like when it came out, it's like, holy shit, this world. And it's like, and then we're seeing it like these billboards that like reach out and talk to you in other parts of the world that like replicate what you saw in Blade Runner. I don't know. And yeah, like just the aspect of what is, I mean, yeah, we have every exploration of what it means to be human is pretty important these days, because I think the answer is compassion and empathy. It's like, that's what all these other things kind of get to.
Well,
And we
I
can
hope that's
push
not the
away-
case, because a lot of people would fail the human test if compassion and empathy was a human test. A lot of people would fail,
Man.
Walter. A lot of people.
Maybe we can program them to be better. Maybe that's what we have to think about.
Watch Fallout Season 2. That's actually the arc. They put chips in the back of people's heads
To make them empathetic?
to make a better society. Yeah.
Or like Clockwork Orange?
It's I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. Watch Fallout Season 2. You nailed it.
Well, I hope they don't have to do it with chips. Christ.
Oh, they
people
all be
have talked
screwed.
about doing it with drugs or chips or electric shocks. And
Oh, do you have your NVIDIA mood stabilizer? No, I use the NMD one. That's why I get hot-headed sometimes.
we should try a hug.
Right there, man.
Let's stop with the drugs and the chips and the shocks and just try giving each other hugs. Maybe that would be the way to do it.
I have enjoyed this live stream so much, gentlemen. I have enjoyed this so much.
Oh, me too. We covered good ground today, I feel. My brain feels bigger. It's stretched out.
It does. I'm happy. It does.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Joe. It has been wonderful as always.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Always.
Yeah, thank you so much. Keep sharing your stories, the good ones and the bad ones. Sometimes the bad ones are the good ones, is what I found out in life.
Gosh, I hope so. I hope so.
Oh, perfect.
And thank you, everyone, for joining. It has been a delight as always.
Yep. Love to
Have a good one,
everybody.
folks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.